Before he was a presidential candidate,
And I've been saying for years, keep the oil, don't let them have the oil.
before he was a reality TV star,
You're fired.
Donald Trump was a New York tabloid fixture. All through the 1980s, Trump was busy building something new, and it wasn't a skyscraper.
Billionaire developer Donald Trump has put his name on a New York City hotel, shopping center, and apartment buildings, as well as a casino in Atlantic City. And now he's going to put his name on a big piece of Eastern Airlines.
Trump was creating a public persona, one that could be both funny and demeaning, arrogant and somehow in touch with the common man.
I sort of love and hate him at the same time. I mean, I think he has, a monumental ego.
He comes off as being very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Arrogant?
Yeah, he's arrogant.
I like him.
You do?
Man's got it made, got everything.
He often did this by picking fights.
He said, I think Donald Trump is an artful liar. I think he is a greedy, vicious, and arrogant man.
Well, I don't know, is that supposed to be a compliment or not? I'm not sure.
He waged a years-long battle with New York City Mayor Ed Koch.
I hope that New York City has a different mayor at some point, because I think Ed Koch is a total disaster. He's been a very bad mayor for the city.
He helped launch a competitor to the NFL called the U.S. Football League, and then launched a lawsuit against the NFL when the USFL failed.
The jury in the case delivered its verdict. It ruled the NFL did indeed monopolize pro football, but it awarded damages of just $1.
And in one of his biggest fights of the 1980s, he went up against media mogul Merv Griffin in a fight over a casino in Atlantic City.
People realize now that Merv made a bad deal. It's unfortunate that he's taken a fall, but he has taken the fall. Nothing much I can do about it.
Donald loves that perception. I won. He is still, a year later standing in New York going, I won. He wants to make sure everybody in America knows he won.
But the Donald Trump we know today is more than just a boastful brawler. That's because there's one more tactic that Trump apparently learned in the 80s and uses to great effect on the campaign trail today: keep people guessing about any long-term plans.
Mr. Trump, what's left in your life? You're 33 years old, you're worth all this money. You say you didn't say that you want to be worth $1 billion.
No, I really don't. I just want to keep busy and keep active.
Could $1 billion buy the White House? What do you think?
Well,
Does
I don't
money
think it
give
can.
you...
I know a lot of the politicians. I like a lot of the politicians. They're friends of mine.
Trump carefully cultivated speculation about his future. In 1987, he ran a full-page ad in major newspapers that read like a political manifesto.
A blow-up of the ad is now on display at Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue.
The ad was irresistible to the New York press, and the move kept Trump's name in the news.
Trump has said quite seriously that he's a good enough bargainer to negotiate a nuclear disarmament treaty with the Russians.
This is not a wealthy country. People think America, wealth, this and that. The Japanese are saying that. What a wealthy country. I mean, they're saying it and they're laughing. The country's losing $200 billion a year. We ought to go in, the next time they fire so much as a bullet at one of our ships, we ought to go in and take over their oil.
With each of these instances, Trump refined his playbook. His attacks.
Steve, you're going to have to start pushing these people now a little bit, because it's getting a little ridiculous as far as I'm concerned.
His boasts.
We'll probably sell an extra 10,000 season tickets, and that's a lot of tickets.
And his shifting positions.
Do you have the genes to be a successful politician?
Well, you never really know. I think I'm pretty outspoken, and that's not probably a good thing in terms of a politician, but it's a good thing if you ever got elected, you can really do a job.
Now, even back in the 80s, many found Trump's over-the-top personality distasteful.
What may be most discouraging of all is that Palm Beach will accept almost anything if it's got enough money, but somehow it will not accept Donald Trump.
But by playing the role of an unpredictable bully with the Midas touch, Trump showed he couldn't easily be ignored.
I believe that perhaps I'm portrayed differently than I actually am. I believe I'm portrayed in a rougher sense than the actual product. And I hope that's true, because I hope the actual product is a lot more mellow than the portrayal.
And that may be his biggest asset of all. When people attack Trump, they reinforce the version of Trump that Trump wants people to see. And inevitably, that keeps Trump's name in the news.
That doesn't matter because I'm not running for office.
Donald Trump is the Hugh Hefner of the 90s.
In the 1990s, Donald Trump was building a reputation for himself as a ladies' man.
For an older person, he's very attractive.
He may be the most eligible bachelor in America. Please welcome Donald Trump.
Gone were the days when he was known primarily as the real estate mogul of New York.
Remember the 80s? The yuppies, the buyouts, the junk bonds, and especially the Donald.
The man who was the darling of the 80s is seen in the 90s as a man in trouble, and he knows it.
The drama started when Donald began cheating on his wife, Ivana Trump, with aspiring actress Marla Maples. After an ugly public falling out, Donald and Ivana divorced in 1992, with some reports that Ivana got millions from the split.
Donald Trump's former or current girlfriend, depending on what day it is sharing all her secrets for staying in shape.
Donald eventually married Marla, 2 months after she gave birth to a baby girl. But by the end of the decade, Trump was single again, and he seemed to enjoy the dating scene.
The reputation of Donald Trump, the man who dates a different woman every year.
I don't do that. I mean, I've been with a number of women, but it's been over a fairly long period of time. I've had great relationships with women.
If you could have your choice, who would be the one person you'd date?
Wow.
Or who are the three most beautiful women in the world?
Well, how about Lady Di? That would be an interesting one. She's going to be available.
What kind of women
not
do
my
you
choice.
like?
I think my choice might be you. Look at the legs on her. Boy.
Can you imagine how controversial I'd be? You think about Clinton with the women. How about me with the women? Can you imagine?
Well, I mean, I think there is a certain controversy to me, and I am single, and I do go out with women.
While his family life may have been on the rocks, his business empire was crumbling.
The headline was quite accurate. Welcome to the 90s, Donald. Because it was like he got whacked right in the face. It was amazing.
Trump opened his third casino in Atlantic City in April 1990.
Lasers, fireworks, and miles of neon lights provided the color as Trump opened the Taj Mahal Casino Hotel in Atlantic City.
But just months after it opened, the Taj Mahal missed one of its debt payments, and Trump began looking for a bailout.
His empire could be at risk of collapse if the New Jersey Casino Commission decides not to approve Trump's bailout plan.
By the fall of 1991, all 3 casinos had filed for bankruptcy.
The New Jersey Casino Control Commission has unanimously approved Donald Trump's bailout plan. That plan allows him to use his 3 Atlantic City casinos as collateral for his $65 million loan.
In order to finance a loan, Trump was forced to sell off his airline, his yacht, and a chunk of one of his earliest projects, the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Manhattan.
You know, I had a wife who was suing me for $2 billion. I had the banks, I had this, I had that.
He did get to keep one asset, an undeveloped piece of land on Manhattan's west side that Trump had purchased in 1985. Trump had envisioned a huge project on the site, but in 1994, the real estate market fell, leaving Trump unable to make payments on the land. So Trump sold off the lots and made a deal where he got to keep some of the profits from any future development, and to put his name on a few of the buildings, marking a new chapter in which Trump was less of a developer and more of a brand.
Who knows better about hard times than me? I had a company, it was doing well, I had tremendous debt like this country, and in 1990, the whole country, it just went very, very bad.
As his finances stabilized, Trump began to reclaim his status in the public psyche with publicity stunts like a 1995 Pizza Hut commercial in which he appeared with Ivana Trump.
What are you doing, Ivana?
What will people think?
It's wrong, isn't it?
But it feels so right.
Then it's a deal?
By the end of the decade, he was once again sounding like the Trump of the 80s, talking big about his finances.
Back in the 1990s, you owed something like $900 million. Your empire was pretty
much more than that.
You owed more than that?
975 was personally guaranteed. That was just the small part. That was the harder debt. But I owed many, many billions of dollars. And now my company is much bigger and stronger than it was in the 80s.
And flirting with a presidential run.
Businessman Donald Trump tells Meet the Press that tomorrow he, Trump, is also leaving the Republican Party to join the Reform Party.
He's considered the largest developer in New York. With his
In 1999, Trump was on the verge of doing something that he had only hinted at in the 80s. He was about to decide whether he could really run for the White House.
Running mate. If you decide to go at this, who would be the ideal running mate for Donald Trump?
Oh, I think Oprah would be great.
Seriously?
I think that probably that would be serious, actually.
From his earliest public appearances, Donald Trump was laying the groundwork for a presidential run, refining his instincts, polishing his reputation as a businessman, and seeking out ways to raise his profile.
Our so-called allies are just ripping us off left and right with Japan and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. They're just ripping this country off. And I can tell you, if I ever was in office, which is unlikely because I don't think I want to be, but if I ever was, that would not happen.
By the year 2000, his image largely stabilized after the bankruptcies and public affairs of the 90s. Trump was once again toying with the idea of a White House bid.
The President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Sounds good.
Trump decided not to run then, citing issues with the Reform Party.
I'm not going to be running. The party is, as you know, self-destructing.
But just as likely, Trump's decision was motivated by uncertainty. At the time, Trump couldn't be sure that he would meet even the 15% threshold that he would need in order to make the fall debates.
I think the 15% is really trying to say that they don't want anybody trying to knock off the Democrats and the Republicans.
They don't want a spoiler candidate.
Excuse me, the people that set that rule were Democrats and Republicans. It's ridiculous.
But if exposure was what Trump needed, he was about to strike gold. In January 2004, The Apprentice premiered. At first, Trump didn't realize what a phenomenon the show would be.
The new reality TV series The Apprentice brings together 20 ambitious contestants hoping to survive in New York's corporate jungle. Donald Trump and Mark Burnett, good morning. Nice to see you guys.
Hello, Katie.
Why?
I have absolutely no idea.
But The Apprentice was a giant hit.
You're fired!
And when the season ended in April, Trump was ascending to new heights.
At a bar in Chicago, the hometown of the new Apprentice, it sounded as loud as a Cubs victory party.
The Apprentice portrayed Donald Trump in the most flattering possible light. As the host of the show, Trump came across like an able commander, a morally strong but fair leader, and a tycoon who couldn't fail.
Doesn't
You
it?
know, I've always got a lot of attention. This is getting a little ridiculous, and I had no idea it was going to do this.
Come on.
Katie, don't
Don't get started with
me. They told me you were going to be nice today.
Trump the man wasn't the only beneficiary of the show. Trump the brand was featured prominently, from Trump bottled water to the troublesome Atlantic City casino, the Trump Taj Mahal.
Well, he may have a hit show right here on NBC and plenty of money in the bank, but Donald Trump's hotels and casino resorts are in deep debt to the tune of nearly $2 billion.
The casinos make less than 1% of my empire, so to speak. I mean, it's a small, relatively small investment for me.
The Apprentice was immediately renewed, and Trump's popularity was at its peak.
Donald Trump is calling for a redesign of the World Trade Center site to, in effect, rebuild the Twin Towers, making them 1 foot taller than the originals.
He soon married longtime girlfriend Melania Knauss at a celebrity-packed wedding.
Who was the most glamorous guest in your view?
Well, I would say, you know, you had Anna Wintour there and Andre Leontali from Vogue, who were terrific people, and Hillary Clinton looked fantastic. And
the show opened up new licensing deals for Trump, and it validated his strategy of branding over building.
He's the dean of his own university.
Being tasty for just $1?
I have to say hello to my boss. You might have met your match here.
And by the end of the year, he was back to talking about the White House.
I will run. Next time.
Taking cameras with him to vote in the presidential election. Though Trump had some trouble finding his polling place.
Oh, why? Do I have to go to a different place, actually?
Yeah. There's a little drama at the polling booth. We like
Do
that.
me a favor, double check.
We have the paperwork.
Double check.
They don't have it here either. You believe me?
They don't have it in this book. He's not in my book either.
I have a feeling this one's not going to work either.
I do too.
Hi, fellas. How are you? You have my name here?
25.
Well, I'm going to fill out the absentee ballot. Come on, Billy, let's go.
On The Apprentice, Trump embraced his new persona. Gone was his habit of picking fights or threatening lawsuits. But off-screen, Trump kept his knives sharp. When Martha Stewart signed up for a daytime version of The Apprentice that would quickly be canceled, Trump couldn't hold his fire.
Honestly, it's like two kids in a sandbox. What's going on
Well, no,
here?
it's
Couldn't you
not.
take the
It's
high
not.
road? Okay,
You
well,
want me to say I apologize? I won't.
Despite 14 seasons of The Apprentice and its spin-off Celebrity Apprentice, Trump was eager to keep up the impression that he was, first and foremost, a developer. Throughout the 2000s, more and more Trump-branded buildings went up around the world. And in 2007, he unveiled his newest trophy tower, a hotel in Dubai.
That property's incredible, just reading about it. What is it per square foot?
I think architecturally it's going to be one of the most beautiful buildings anywhere in the world. It's special, and Dubai is a special place. And it's...
By 2009, it was canceled due to the global financial collapse. But beginning back in the late 90s, Trump had started purchasing golf courses. And reports indicate that he's been able to earn a surprisingly high rate of return for these investments.
What did it cost you to build this?
The total cost was about $55 million.
But by and large, the era of constructing his own buildings was coming to an end, especially at home in New York. The last time Trump's company put up a new building in Manhattan was 2001. And despite the hype around The Apprentice, the last time anyone paid Trump to put his name on a New York City building was in 2007.
You have to be very smart. You have to know your subject. You can never have somebody so smart that he's smarter than you. You have to be the smart one.
But that sounds like you surround yourself with stupid people.
No, you just have to be very smart people.
It wasn't until the end of the decade that Trump was ready to finally enter politics, combining all the tools he'd been honing, the public feuds, the obfuscation, and his deft handling of the media.
The world laughs at us. They won't be laughing if I'm president. If I decide to run, and that's a big decision for me, including the fact, frankly, that I would have to give up one of the most successful shows on television, which is a lot of money and a lot of prestige and a lot of power.
Despite years of public pining for the White House, Trump's first real entry into politics didn't go quite as planned. Trump targeted President Obama's background, a subject that Trump insisted was a legitimate topic.
We'll have to see what, perhaps it's going to say Hawaii. Perhaps it's going to say Kenya.
But Trump's critics described as conspiratorial and racist.
Obviously, we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, no, seriously, just recently, in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice, you fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night.
Trump didn't back down despite the public scolding, but his biggest mistake in that first foray might have just been picking a fight with somebody with a bigger bully pulpit than a reality TV show.